Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy Smith and welcome to episode number 18 of the Rambler podcast, where we are passionate about sharing what makes Cathedral Prep the standard of excellence. On this episode of the podcast, we are thrilled to have Josh Constable as a guest. Josh was appointed as the head baseball coach at Cathedral Prep in July of 2017. In his 5 seasons at the helm, Josh has a combined record of 73 wins and 22 losses. Each year, the Ramblers have advanced into the PIAA playoff bracket, claiming the District 10 championship. More importantly, 17 student athletes have been granted the opportunity to compete at the college level under his leadership and mentoring. In addition, 6 current players are committed to colleges, adding to the pedigree of player development. Josh was born and raised in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, where he attended Bishop McCourt High School and was a 2-sport standout for the Crimson Crushers. Following high school, Josh completed his undergrad degree at East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. He was a recruited member of their well-respected and nationally ranked Division I baseball team. Josh was recognized as a Texas Golf All-American team member for his athletic and academic accomplishments. He also served on the Student Athletic Advisory Committee while playing for the Pirates. Josh continued to have an active role in the game of baseball with youth development, as he was an integral part in establishing the Erie Steelheads baseball organization, where he has served as manager of various age-level teams over the last 10 years and currently fulfills the role of chairman of the board within the club. Outside of baseball, Josh pursued a lifelong dream of a career as a physician and displayed the drive to be successful both on and off the field. He graduated from Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine and then completed advanced residency training in anesthesiology. Josh is a practicing anesthesiologist on staff at UPMC Hammett here in Erie. Along with this, he serves as the Regional Vice President for Clinical Services, overseeing the Mid-Atlantic region, which includes Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Delaware. He is employed by North American Partners in Anesthesia, and this is the leading single specialty anesthesia and perioperative management company in the United States. Josh resides in Erie with his wife Stacy, who is a former East Carolina University women's soccer player and current record holder. They have 2 children, Carly and Cole. Carly is a graduate of the University of Dayton, where she completed their cross-country and track and field teams. And Cole is currently a senior here at Cathedral Prep and a University of Maryland commit for baseball. So all that, to say, Josh, we're honored and welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Jimmy. It's a pleasure to provide some outreach and give a little story of my timeline and help you out in any way we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's great. I love being able to read off the bios for people, the listeners on the podcast, be able to hear a little bit about you, your work life, but also your background with baseball is very impressive, which we'll get into here. But, you're doing great things for the program here at Prep, and we're appreciative to have you here. So first thing, kind of start off with talking about your background a little bit. What position did you play for baseball? And can you tell us what it was like playing for the Division I program over there with East Carolina?
Yeah, no. So I was recruited out of high school, out of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, to play middle infield. The transition to the college level was certainly a big step in terms of athleticism, skill, and making that transition. Being honest and transparent, I didn't have the mold and fit of a middle infielder at that level.
Yeah.
Being there, I played second base, shortstop, third base, but ended up landing in the outfield my junior year. And so I think it's a testament of athleticism, ongoing development, and being versatile as an athlete to be able to make that transition there.
Right. And especially now with you on the coaching side of things, you can understand more the game of baseball in terms of you actually played several different positions, not just one.
Yeah, that transition's been key. I think if you can be relevant with your players and give them real examples of things that happen, to avoid players that want to specialize in a certain position.
Yeah.
I think coaches have a job and duty to put the best 9 guys on the field in baseball, the best 5 in basketball, and 11 in football. And you want your athletes out there competing.
Right.
And so rather than specialize in certain positions or performance areas, I think it's a testament to just continue ongoing development, no matter what sport it is, to be versatile and provide yourself greater chances to get on the field.
Right.
Especially making that jump from high school to compete. At the time was the Colonial Athletic Conference, extremely competitive with top-ranked teams, a very competitive schedule. The skill set, time management was certainly something to juggle.
Right.
You learn a lot about yourself being almost 8 hours from home at 17 years old to how to adapt and adjust to things. And that was just one of the many things you have to conquer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, especially now, like I read off, there was 17 student athletes who have already gone on to go play further. There's 6 current. You being able to help mentor them on that aspect of life too, to be able to, I'm sure you're still connected with a lot of those players to help guide them and whatnot through that transition time from high school to college. I'm sure your experience is very vital to helping that too.
Yeah, it's odd. So many of the guys have landed at places that are being coached by coaches, either coached me, recruited me, or I played with or against.
No way.
So that's helped with the networking piece.
Yeah.
And then, the 17 players playing at the college level now and the 6 current players that are committed is a testament, number one, to really good families. Secondly, really good student athletes. Thirdly, highly skilled players.
Yeah.
And then their vision aligns with ours. And so being able to be a small part of their success in this process has been rewarding. No matter what level, whether it's junior college, Division III, Division II, Division I still get goosebumps anytime someone commits.
Yeah.
And having that phone call, that conversation with the parents and the coaching staff to allow a young man to fulfill his dreams after high school, it's rewarding.
Yeah.
And anything I can do to assist and facilitate, mentor them in the process is key, because it's all about fit.
Right.
Not the school, not the name, not the location. You got to have a really good fit, I think, to achieve the ultimate success for them and be happy.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, a big networking aspect of it is helping these kids get in the right opportunities. But, being on this side of things, meaning on the staff of prep, I've got to see there's a lot of work that's involved on you, the coaches, to help these kids network, get the right door open to them, and be able to get the opportunities that they get. So it's not just talent alone. I mean, yes, talent plays a huge role into them getting landed, but finding that right fit, making it the right opportunity for them, it takes a lot of work on your part.
Yeah, it does. It's the phone lines are always open.
Yeah.
It's easy to network, number one, for student athletes from the school.
Yeah.
It's got a great reputation. It's got a great framework of putting out well-grounded student athletes that represent the school and themselves and their family.
Right.
And then being available, you have to be available for coaches at the college level. They have a busy schedule. So when they need to speak about a student athlete, you got to be available, you got to be present, you got to be honest.
Yeah.
I try not to ever oversell the players, because no one will come
Right.
back to fish in that pond if you oversell the player.
Right.
And you want to be very honest, have candid conversations, and be truthful, respectful to the students and their parents as well, because it's an investment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was telling you just before we hopped on here that I played baseball for prep, and my dad, he played professionally, and we've always been a big baseball family. So this is more of a personal question, but what's your favorite part about the game of baseball?
Yeah, no, it is. It's I'll be honest, I enjoyed probably playing football more in high school.
Okay.
And so my mom wanted me to go on and pursue football in college, but I knew I had a higher ceiling playing baseball.
Yeah.
What's magnetized me towards staying in the game is there's so much about the game of baseball, I think, that relates to life and a good history and recollection of my childhood. Every person relates back, just as your first person you bring was your dad.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, Dad, let's have a catch.
Right.
The times in my backyard in Johnstown playing catch with my dad, my brother, my grandfather, all still resonates.
Right.
And so the game, whether it's the hustle piece, the game, certain nuances that you can relate to life, and it transpires into my professional life.
Yeah.
Those that work with me and around me have gotten used to a lot of things. Phone calls from coaches and car rides. There was about a month ago, I got a call from 3 Power 5 coaches in a 30-minute window traveling with coworkers about certain athletes.
Right.
2 is that I always relate things, the 3-1 fastballs, and some people call them layups. I call them thigh-high fastballs, the things got to knock out of the park.
Yeah.
And then relationships to the game and what it's brought me.
Right.
I mean, my best core of people, whether it's high school and college, are still like my closest friends. It can be 5 years before the last time we spoke, and that connection bond's always there.
Right.
That also translates across basketball, football, I'm sure, for those who had the chance. But so much about baseball and the evolution of it is appealing to me, and hence I still stay connected to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm passionate. I love the game of baseball. I grew up playing. The travel team we played for was called the Erie Roadrunners.
Yeah.
This was a group of guys that were all going to be going to prep, so we started playing together when we were in 6th, 7th grade. So we spent, oh my gosh, hours and hours and hours of time in the dugouts every single summer, from the time we were 12, 13 years old all the way until we were 18 years old, between prep and then on the travel team. So yeah, those relationships like you were talking about, I still have a group text with those guys today that I graduated prep from, played baseball with all those years. It's special, outside of just the game, those relationships is such a integral part.
Yeah.
So it's great to see how you've continued on with playing and then, coaching, and then you were an integral part of starting the Steelheads organization. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about the Steelheads and how and why you got involved with that?
Yeah, so it dated back to 2013. We're now celebrating our 10-year anniversary of an organization.
Congratulations.
It's been 10 great years to start with. The original, the OGs from 2013, and 12 players that were basically young student athletes in the area that we had known through our kids playing soccer and basketball.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, do you guys want to play baseball together this summer? I collaborated with 3 other local college baseball players that were parents, and it morphed from, I actually attended a father-son baseball camp with Cole at my alma mater at East Carolina.
Oh, wow.
And just felt like, I had something to give back.
Yeah.
And I had been at a point in my career that my professional life was stable. I had time and resources to control my schedule. And that 12 players and families that believed in our vision of developing something beyond the game of baseball, create a network and community within it, provide life lessons. The very first practice in the fall of 2012, defining like one word of character and what it meant to those players. And it was a trampoline going forward to have words the day at practice, make certain core values of hustle, grit, determination in class. Yeah. We're transcending off the field as well. And now we're at 13, 14 teams, over 150 kids.
Wow.
And 3 to 4 dozen college commits out of that. It encompasses kids from Northwest Pennsylvania, Ohio, Western New York, and like Southern Erie County players.
Yeah.
And so it's not designed just for Cathedral Prep. We've got kids from all over District 10,
right,
District 7, and like I said, other areas. But it's certainly been a good success. It's been a good thing, I think, for the local network of players that are graduating from local colleges that want to stay in the area, stay involved in the game. And a large portion of our coaches are non-parents. Yeah. So it gets away from that parent-coach theme, which it's taken some time to recruit and get there, but we're closer.
Right. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, to hear the amount of kids that you have in the program, the amount of teams, talk about impact, through the game of baseball.
Yeah, it's all about relationships, honestly.
Yeah.
Everything you equate back to, whether it's professional life, coaching, if you can build relationships, share vulnerability, create some trust, and you can influence and inspire kids, you're going to have success.
Right.
And so that's a centerpiece of our success, and the impact has been transcending. And I think from those on the outside, people have recognized when I'm coaching a game for Cathedral Prep against a player I've coached in the summer, right, you can recognize it.
Yeah.
The energy, the connection, the bond, a fist bump coming off the field, guy gets out of a jam,
yeah,
a little tap on the shoulder. I'm still cheering for them to have personal success. Obviously, at the end of the game, I want more runs on our side than theirs, but
exactly.
It's certainly there.
Yeah.
But it's been a great impact, and more importantly, we've got really good parents that have that support our framework and our mesh for success.
Right. And we'll start to get into talking Cathedral Prep baseball in a minute here, but one more question for you kind of on the topic of this is, so, you've been involved with the Steelheads, you've done youth coaching and whatnot. For listeners that are maybe at that level of coaching, teaching the youth and whatnot, what advice would you have for people in that bracket of coaching, in terms of coaching the youth and any suggestions you would have for them?
Yeah, really good question. I think it all comes down to one 3-letter word, and it's fun. So much of everything in life, from academics to athletics, now has become so. It's around the status. Like sometimes parents think it's a status of which team, organization, travel, elite, you name it, national, comes down to a status. And the fun piece gets taken away. And so if youth coaches that are trying to aspire to make the next jump, I'd say no matter what age or group, keep it fun. It's got to be certain about player development and athleticism. Yeah. Promote multi-sport athletes for certain, and connect with your players. Yeah. And there's so much going on right now that maybe just be about wins, losses, average, whatever it may be, velocity, exit velocity, so many measurables. Yeah. The fun piece will keep a player coming back.
Right.
And if you can create an atmosphere and evoke an experience that creates a positive emotion, they're going to keep coming back, regardless of the level.
Right.
And so I would say stay current with the game, create a good atmosphere and culture with your team that promotes fun, make it competitive in a good, healthy atmosphere,
Right.
and just promote athleticism. And I think you'll find yourself reaping the benefits long term.
And I think anybody who coaches, you got a heart for the kids. You want to do good. You know, you're not out there just for your own selfish ambitions. You want to be there for the kids.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anytime there's any type of dispute, unfortunately, no matter what you're coaching, there gets to be unhealthy conversations. And if you can stay grounded in those conversations and equate with a parent, an administrator, a coach, and just say, look, we align on one thing. We both want what's best for your son.
Right.
We both love him.
Yes.
We both want what's best for him.
Right.
He may not be leadoff hitter, number 4 hitter. He may have a role.
Right.
Let's agree that that's a good role for him. Let's mentor that. Let's foster it. Let's water it.
Right.
And make certain that he or she can develop in that role.
Yeah.
And that commonality of wanting what's best for the kids is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I give kudos to all the coaches. I always, especially Cathedral Prep, but in general, anybody who's at the coaching level, whether you're a parent helping out your team or you're, like you said, a lot of coaches that you have on your organization with the Steelheads. They may not even be parents, but they're there with their time contributing. And, just kudos to all the coaches and everything that they do, because it's a lot, but we appreciate it.
Yeah, and the expectation level is high here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think up until taking this job at Cathedral Prep, I was always been molded in an underdog role. Mm-hmm. Grew up in a coal mining town. Wasn't supposed to go to a 4-year college. People that come from there don't go on the medical school.
Yeah.
Go to East Carolina competing against NC State, UNC. That, there was always jokes about those who went to East Carolina, which those who don't know is a really credible baseball program. And then here, it's my first experience at being at a favorite. And that's used to winning, rich in tradition.
Right.
That's got a really good bloodline and pedigree.
Yeah.
So that's unique in its own way as well, but certainly enjoyable.
So when the position became available in 2017, talk us through how'd you first hear about it and what made you interested then in pursuing the position?
Yeah. So I'd been connected. My daughter Carly went to Villa Maria and had a really good, successful run there. And being connected to the high school sports scene, no matter where I've lived, I've paid attention, read the newspapers, went to games, watched big important games. So I knew about the rich tradition here, football, basketball, baseball. Through my involvement with the Steelheads, I was connected to the high school coaches. I would intermittently attend baseball games here at the high school level, whether it was friends of mine's kids playing, whatever. I did have a prior connection with Coach Hess and his team, and had heard it may have been his last season. His youngest son had graduated the same year as Carly. Okay. And so it's a small town, rumors get out. Yep. And then once it became available, I went through the interview process with the administrative team and Mr. Flanagan, and it came to where it's at today. But certainly it sparked my interest. You want to be a part of a school and an athletic department that you align with their vision, develop young men, spirit, mind, and body. Right. From the early days of the Steelheads, there's always been a spiritual component, even not affiliated with the school, and our coaching tactics and mission. And so I thought it was a really good fit. To be honest, it probably was more enduring of an interview process than my own professional career, to go through 3 interviews to get to this point. But it brings on great candidates with a lot of passion to represent the school, and it's been nothing but great success. And I always say, I hope I'm giving back to the school and the program what it's given me in this role. Yeah. Because being around 40 plus players every year and around their family and hoping to have an impact has been rewarding for myself. Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Coach Hess. That's who I played for when I was at Prep. Yeah. He took over as a head coach my sophomore year. And so he coached basically as a part of his program 3 of my 4 years with Prep baseball. Coach Mike Demkowski was the head coach my freshman year. I loved playing for Coach Hess. He was a great coach. His oldest, Eric Hess, I played with Eric Hess. We graduated the same year together, and he went on to the University of Pittsburgh to play. What you were saying about just
hoping that you can give back to the program as much as you get from it and stuff. That's all, really great to hear, because you obviously have been able to impact the school through these kids with what you're doing with the program. And seems like it's been obviously going great with I read your record and things you've been able to accomplish. And so talk us through that first season then. So now you become the head coach. What was the transition like? You already talked a little about how it was the first time you went from the underdog role in your life to now you're the favorite, right? In terms of being at the coaching pedigree with Cathedral Prep. What was it like going from you're involved coaching at the Steelheads organization to now you're coaching at the high school level with Prep?
Yeah, it was a really common question early on. I think that the game it translates no matter the level. It's just players throw harder, run faster, hit the ball further.
Yeah.
But the intricacies of the game, it just in-game catch. So if you can do in-game catch, pitch and catch, throw the baseball, and make plays, it's the same.
Right.
It's just the maturity level of who you're coaching. And so, having played collegially, but that was, many years ago, the game's evolved, it's changed. I've remained current in the game, which is critically important. I coach differently now and in this year as I did in 2017.
Yeah.
But that first year was, I think it was very rewarding. I learned a lot about myself, the players. We had a really good staff on hand at the time, and it was an extremely talented group I inherited. And so had a lot of fun. We built upon that year. And I told the players that last game when we lost to West Allegheny is we will eventually get to where we want to be. And each of you here will share in that experience when we get it, because you were a part of it from the ground up. And that reflects and resonates, back to Dave Hess as well.
Yeah.
I inherited a program that was hardwired for success, and I think we shared some of the core critical expectations, like hustle, grit, determination, how we carry ourselves, body makeup, class, are words that we use synonymously between the two of us, and getting a chance to know him, which was important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's great to hear. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where, it's a big, could be viewed as a big jump, but I like how you break it down to very simply, it's a game of baseball.
Yeah,
kids are a little bit bigger, faster, more mature, but it's a game of baseball.
It's in-game catch.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Exactly. So looking forward to this coming season, right? So this episode of the podcast coming out late March. We're getting ready to gear up for baseball season here with the spring. Can you tell us about the people on your staff that are going to be helping you coach this year?
Yeah, we're bringing back Connor Connell, who's a Prep alum, comes back on the staff to lead our pitching staff and to manage that group. Connor was part of the original group, stepped away to manage some family responsibilities.
He's got a few kids.
He
right?
does. He got a few kids. So Connell comes back, brings that energy, passion, and fire as a Prep alum, understands what it means to wear the CP logo.
Yeah.
Coming back this year is Matt Adamczak. Matt was on the original staff. Matt graduated from Villa, played in, I think, the state championship game there. Matt manages our catching staff and group of players. Very deep, very talented group of people with that position-specific need on our team, and inherits a really quality group of kids.
Yeah.
And then returning coach is Justin Scarpitti, comes back, another former Prep alum, is going to coach first base for us, handles our first baseman and our offense.
Yeah.
Really solid young man, has a lot of passion and pride in the program. And then Joe Loria, another Prep alum, manages the outfield, another deep, talented group of people that has been extremely skilled and helpful for us. Along with that's Frank Loria, Villa alum that played in that state championship crew with Matt and the rest of the guys here in the town. Rich Colash from Waterford is a multi-sport coach in the area that's done a great job at the youth level and translated across it. Mark Koshin as well. Mark's been a long Gannon alum, baseball player, been present on coaching basketball and baseball here for quite some time, and brings a lot of depth and knowledge. And then in addition to this, we added Nick Santoro this year. Young guy, very energetic, passionate about the game, just starting his coaching career. It's in his second year, and collegiate player from Rochester. That I think this adds a lot of depth, a lot of really good skill to it, and certainly something that we're excited about pushing forward this year.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a real good staff. Good mix between some Prep and Ville alum and then some outsiders, I'll say, but very knowledgeable and great at the game of baseball.
Yeah, it is. It's a great group of people, and I
Yeah.
think we got a great alignment. I think if you attended any of our practices or workouts, you wouldn't necessarily recognize who the head coach was. Everyone's got an equal voice. I think most importantly, they all share their vulnerability with the players. They find a way to influence and inspire them. We collectively come up with ideas and thoughts to maintain the current trends in the game. And everyone fosters relationship with the players and makes certain they know that they're there and we've got their back no matter what it may be and to help them along life.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And then the Loria, speaking specifically with the Loria family, their dad, Frank, he coached me when I was growing up and whatnot. And then their brother, Jamie Loria, was a year behind me at prep. He was also on the Erie Roadrunners team. So between me and Jamie, we've had a lot of time in the dugouts. And he had an arm. He could fire a cannon in terms of pitching, and as an outfielder, he had a rocket.
Yeah, you talk about the families and tradition.
Yeah.
And, you look at, Mr. Loria comes around the game. And his sons, bleed that passion. Matt Adamczak's father, Tom, is around the game, helps us as our statistician. Justin's dad, Jeff Scarpitti, is around the team.
Yeah.
So you look at it, the players see a healthy relationships that bond with our families, which I think is so critical. And then, Connor's dad's been around since day one.
Yeah.
His dad's been around, helps with the kids. He's the first guy there, last guy to leave as well. So you see this, and it transcends, it translates, and I think it's really healthy for the students to see that relationship and how it's been, the game's fostered that with the father-son relationship as well.
Absolutely. And you talk about the culture of a great team, what produces success, and there's no listening to us talking through the podcast, there's no surprise as to why you have the record you do with the team so far, why you're producing the success you have. You have the culture and the organization and the people in place to help facilitate all this for the kids and produce the best results for them going forward. So, we're talking about your background between playing and now coaching and leading successful teams. When it comes to, a coaching philosophy, we'll say, what is your coaching philosophy when leading a team like this?
Yeah, I think it comes down as to how you can relate to players, and it comes down to your ability to influence them and inspire them. Players now, I've learned so much from my own mistakes.
Yeah.
And the imperfections of what make you and I and everyone else human.
Yeah.
Okay. In a world where everyone expects things now and we see everyone's best self, is that I try and share my shortcomings, my shortfalls to build trust and share vulnerability to players.
Yeah.
From a philosophy and vision standpoint, today's player today in 2023 doesn't want to be managed or directed. They want to be influenced. And so to influence somebody, you've got to connect with them, understand what makes them go, share the same vision, make sure your vision and direction with them is there, and then give them clear, I don't want to say direction, but clear instruction and recommendations on how to improve their game, because players nowadays can just turn off.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that G word, grit, because it's not always instilled in everyone now. As you see people that are given handouts, and there's teams for everyone, and everyone's elite, everyone's on a national team, everyone's an all-star. Instilling that is important. So you got to stay grounded with that. Make sure you can find a way to connect, influence, inspire them, and if you can do that, you have a voluntary momentum on your team.
Right.
So when you got a voluntary momentum on your group of players that share the same vision as you, it can be a springboard for success. And then the core values is hustle, grit, determination, and class.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, the wins take care of itself, and realize that there's also someone else out there that's 60 feet 6 inches trying to beat you.
Right.
And people don't realize that.
Right.
Is that there's another team out there that's trying to be the best version of themselves to win and be successful as well.
Well, and you hit the nail on the head too, right? When you talk about it's not just a game of baseball, any sport. If a kid doesn't want to play here for whatever reason, hey, there's another team. We'll take you. You can start on our team. You can play here. It's like, well, that's not what we want to teach kids. That's not the right philosophy. So, yeah, totally aligned with what you're saying there.
Yes, no doubt.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and I think, I appreciate you sharing that all with us. And, we've talked about how, and, when I was introing you, we've discussed, 17 so far student athletes have been able to go on and compete at the collegiate level. And then you have 6 currently on your team that have committed. What does that mean to you? Knowing that you've played a role in the lives of those kids being able to fulfill their dream of pursuing college baseball.
Yeah, looking back, even you look at those 17 kids and the 6 now, and I think we'll have 2 or 3 other college commits on today's current team, which it adds up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Is even beyond them, the players that don't go on and play in college, put all of them in one silo, one bucket. In summation, they've given me more than I can probably ever give them. And so being a part of it, being a part of that process, those direct, candid conversations are important. And then anytime you can sit back and watch them be successful and put smiles on their face to achieve their dreams, I just hope that in their professional life, how they parent, how they coach, how they mentor people, will have some type of hardwiring to what we've instilled.
Right.
And so it's been extremely important, and we talk about for them just sharing their emotions, being able to have difficult conversations, be comfortable in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah.
Don't shy away from adversity. These are just things we talk about daily. It's just not, balls and strikes and hitting philosophy and pitching mechanics.
Right.
We talk a lot about life and what it brings to us. And we've had sit-down conversations that have been for 30 seconds to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Especially dealing with what's around us.
Right.
And we try to bring in anything that goes on at the school, nationally, publicly, locally, that may be adverse.
Yeah.
We try to make certain it's addressed and provide a platform of a safe haven for people to have conversation with us.
Yeah.
And so it's beyond that, but it's been certainly rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, again, you talk about impact. Of course, it's easy to highlight, like you said, like we were talking about, those kids that have gone on to play college and whatnot. But even as a whole, like you said, like I personally, I didn't go on to play college baseball, but I can talk about the impact that my coaches had during my time. Oh, and it taught me so many lessons in life. I mean, my dad being one of my biggest, mentors and people in life that coached me, Coach Hass and other people that I've had as coaches through my years, assistant coaches, you name it. These people impact me through teaching me things about life while playing the game of baseball. And it's things that stick with you forever.
Yeah. So many things that maybe I didn't think were important or relevant, in 1993 to 97 when I was playing that I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I find myself hardwiring into the framework of my current team.
Yeah.
That I maybe have made it more modern,
right.
But those certain core disciplines or values are certainly true to my team.
Yeah.
And so I had a chance to, connect with those that, had coached me in college through my own son's recruiting process.
Yeah.
And made certain I was able to share appreciation, express gratitude with them. Like, hey, I find myself now over the last 6 years coaching a high school team doing some of the same core things that you wanted us to do.
Yeah.
And so it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got just a couple more questions for as we start to wrap this up. We'll talk about the upcoming season, but kind of random question I have for you is, baseball in Erie, right? Springtime, especially for high school. As you get into summer, weather doesn't have to be an issue or a factor. We get into now, I think you guys started tryouts this week. You're going to get into being able to practice, games hopefully starting here in the next, few weeks. Can you talk to us about some of the challenges for you as a baseball coach in Erie with some of the weather you might get in early spring and even middle spring? It might snow in May, who knows? But can you talk to us some of the challenges of maybe coaching a team like a sport like baseball where the weather can be such a factor, and how do you overcome that challenge as well?
Yeah, it's still evolving. Yeah. I wish I had a crystal ball to outline that, but it certainly brings on that underdog component and being in the favorite where you got to be creative, find ways to keep your players engaged. There could be a stretch of 10 to 14 days you don't get outside.
Yeah.
So breaking apart parts of the game, utilizing small spaces, keeping it simple, fun, and competitive has been critical. And then making certain the players also are prepared and aware of adverse events that may happen with scheduling, altered practice plan, playing in inclement weather. So we've tried to simulate that. So we try to practice outside in conditions we play in. We certainly try to compete no matter what we're doing. And then for any breaks in the time, let the players have a voice in what they need at the current time, whether it's rest, hitting, arm care, prehabilitation, and making them involved in the process.
Yeah. I mean, I remember for us, we'd have practice scheduled, over at Gate of Heaven, and sure enough, it snows. It's maybe April, whatever.
Yeah.
And we'd be in the gym at Prep, the old gym, not the event center. It's got a batting cage in there for those who don't know that.
Yeah.
We'd use the batting cage. The other group would run. Some people would throw. It was just kind of, you just get creative and you figure out ways you can still work on your skill set, even though you're not outside. You just do what you can, right? You figure it out.
Exactly. Figure it out.
Yeah. So, last question for you here. What are you looking forward to the most this upcoming season for 2023?
Yeah, 2023, I think, one word I think that needs to define us this year is just being relentless. Relentless and staying engaged, despite a schedule at times last year that we've kind of coasted.
Yeah,
we've got to maintain that fire being lit. Is number one. Number two is making certain that all 20 guys on the varsity roster understand their role. Not only do they understand it, but they buy into it.
Yeah.
Because in any successful team, you need someone who can get a bunt down late in the game, manufacture a run. Be a pinch runner, be a guy off the bench. And if that enthusiasm and energy can, transpire onto the team, they can understand it. Because we've got the ingredients for another very successful team, extremely talented, top to bottom. But everyone's got to do their part, understand their role, understand the seat on the bus that fits them.
Right.
And I think if we can do that, and also everyone embraces their shortcomings, isn't always trying to put the best version of themselves out there, and stays extremely humble. I'm really excited about this group.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of high expectations, I'm sure, for the team this year. You do have a great group here, and I'm excited to see how the season progresses for you. But no, I just want to say thanks for coming on the podcast. But more importantly, thank you for what you're doing for not just baseball and Cathedral Prep, but the students that you're impacting and you're a part of. You're making a great contribution to the lives of these kids, and you're doing great stuff. Of course, the wins and losses, your record speaks for itself. But just want to say, thank you. We appreciate all you're doing for the school.
Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate being here. For all the listeners, alumni out there, hope we're upholding the brand, and most certainly just want to leave it better than when we got it.
Yeah.
So every year, that's the biggest goal, is that when we're done this year, make certain the program, that jersey, everything we left behind is better than the year before.
Yeah.
And I think we've continued to build upon that, and I think the tradition's rich, and we're certainly attracting the right student athletes who share the same vision for us going forward. And
just side question, for those who want to attend some games this year, where are you guys playing home games at? Where are you guys, doing that?
Yeah, I certainly would like to see, despite the inclement weather, a large crowd out there.
Yeah.
The majority of our home games this year are at Mercyhurst University.
Okay.
It's a great newly renovated field up on the hill. Great viewing. And then we obviously play at, I think, 3 or 4 games at UPMC Park.
Awesome.
So that's another place. And then all of our away games are local within District 10 as well. We got a great matchup as well on a Friday night in Youngstown, Ohio, versus a highly ranked Canfield team as well, which I think will be a great matchup on a Friday evening. Canfield got the best of us last year. They return a lineup that mirrors ours quite a bit with a lot of Division I recruits.
Yeah.
They're well coached, they're well disciplined, and certainly have a little bit of an edge to compete with us. And I look forward to that matchup as well.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm excited for the season. I'm excited to take my boys out to the games this year and be able to support the Ramblers. So, but no, thank you again for coming on the podcast. Wish you the best of luck this season.
Thanks, Jim. Take care.
You're welcome.
I appreciate your time.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Rambler podcast with Josh Constable. Very fortunate to have Josh, leading the Ramblers on the baseball field, and appreciate him coming on as a guest. We had a great conversation there, and glad you got a chance to listen to that. Our next guest for the Rambler podcast is going to be Mr. Jim Stevenson. He is the regional president for PNC Bank in Northwest Pennsylvania and a Cathedral Prep graduate of the class of 1984. He played basketball for the Ramblers all 4 years and was an integral part of actually leading the Ramblers to the state championship game his senior year. So we're going to have a great discussion with him, talking about his time at Prep, but also talking about his leadership and what he's been able to accomplish with PNC Bank. So we're going to have a real good episode of the podcast there for you, coming out on April 3rd. So thanks again so much for listening. God bless, and roll Ramblers.